Hey guys, Andrew the Realtor here for the month of May housing market update. Sorry, get that out. Forgive the slightly lower quality camera. I'm using my regular laptop versus my son, who's in online schooling, as many of our kids are first grade, and so he's got the good camera. Nonetheless, guys, let's get right into it. I try to make these as short as possible. You notice the pattern, or at least the theme of the newsletter in terms of the housing market. There's a cool down. Now, you're not going to notice much of a cool down initially, but stay with me here, and we're going to get right through this. So, minimize myself. Let's get right to it. So here we are. These are the stats for last month's housing market. Now, please keep in mind when I say last month's, the numbers I try to show are year over year, so you get to see what the difference is this year versus last year. And I keep in mind, April last year was an incredibly slow month for the real estate market. To flash back to 2020, towards the middle of March, we had the March break. As soon as March break started, we've been hearing about this COVID situation. It's been going on. We heard that there's going to be, was it 15 days to slow the spread or 14 days to slow the spread? Well, whatever it is, it's clearly longer than that. We're well into over a year of it. But at that point, we heard schools are closing, daycares are closing, and that lasted for a few weeks. People weren't sure what to do. So many people either took their homes off the market, stopped showing, buyers stopped looking. We actually, even as realtors, weren't sure exactly what we can and can't do. April was the one month that got really affected. March, the first half of March was very busy. Second half of March was not that busy. April was quite slow. Now let's look at these numbers that I circled and why they're important. When you see that the number of homes sold is up 162%, you think, well, that's a typo. Well, no, it's because April had such precious little activity last year. And for all the obvious reasons, COVID related. Now, average price as well. What happened in April and May, and I was telling folks this, if it's possible, and eventually it became possible for us to show homes and certainly put them on the market, virtual tours became a really big deal as well. I was telling other clients, some of you heard this, that it's a good time to buy right now. Not because, and I must emphasize this, not because people are desperate and you're trying to get them at the lowest point, as in kicking somebody while they're down. No, quite the opposite. If people are on the market, then they need to sell, and because no buyers are coming in, they might be in a dire situation if they can't sell their home. You come in, you pay a fair market value, which is what all of my clients did at that time, I'm proud to say, and not only is the seller winning because they actually sell their property as they were supposed to and they get on with their life, but the buyer also gets a willing seller at a good market value. They're helping out. They get a house they want. It's a win-win situation. That's what was happening in April. Unfortunately, because of numbers and because of COVID, though, that happened a lot less for that month. Now, obviously, last month, a very, very busy month, as I'll show you in some comparable numbers shortly. The average price is something to think about. Now, the average price, I always mention this, I'll reiterate. The point of the average price is to mention just that. It's kind of a vague number. It includes all homes. So consider, if you want to do like a microcosm of this example, to an area where there may be lots of different homes, but a small area. And say there are, I don't know, half dozen very expensive homes that tend to sit on the market. Maybe they're $4, $5, $6 million. And say most of them, or at least half of them, sell in one specific month. It makes sense that those sales will naturally bump up the average sales of that area for the year. So that month you go, wow, the average price went up so much. And they think, well, it's not every house. It just happens to be that those couple of or a few really expensive homes sold that specific month happens to be. So the reason I mention is that is what the average is. Just yesterday, before doing this update, I saw an article in a very, very, very major newspaper. I was disappointed with the title because it seemed like clickbait. They were talking about the idea of prices going down significantly. The prices are down, sales are down. Well, the truth is, March is the busier month, and April was slightly less busy. April was a very busy month, but because it was a drop, it looked good on a headline in newspapers, and people looked at it. That's the point. The other thing in terms of price drop, you'll notice here, price is I think $1,090,000. Price in March, average price in March, just last month, 2021, was I think maybe 7,000, 8,000. I think something like that more. So it was actually a drop. Now, when you write that without any context, it makes people look at it. You think the market's dropping down. The true reality is, no, prices are still staying very, very strong. Okay, that took a little too long. Let me get into the really important stuff. Prices are clearly up. Now, is it sustainable? Is a 33% increase sustainable? Clearly not. It is going to slow down. The buyers are going to start burning out, and or the buying pool is going to start shrinking, which is very normal, especially towards the summer. And on the opposite end, the inventory is going to be increasing. It is increasing already. Active listings in April was, let's see, 11,060. We're about 12,500. So we're about 1,000 up. And I'll tell you why that's important in just a little bit. Oh, look at the prices increases. This is what's really crazy. 41.3 detached admittedly have gone up quite a bit. Remember, this is average this month versus average that month. So keep that in mind. You're comparing very busy to one of the least busiest ever. Nonetheless, prices are definitely up, and we're going to talk about, well, Andrew, didn't you say that it's cooling? We'll also draw your attention to the condo market. The condo market is up almost 20%. Again, this is what, the second month in a row where condo market has gone up. Previous to this, it was down 1 or 2, 3%. That's important to note. Sales. This is sales volume, not price, sales volume. And what I wanted to show here is look how much higher 2021 is. Now, 2020 comparisons in March and April, not fair because March and April, half of March was very slow. All of April was very slow last year. Take a look at these numbers here. Now, that said, look at green 2019, gray 2018. You'll notice the difference here in sales. It's especially at the beginning of the year. Honestly, it was unprecedented. We were selling so fast, and there's lots of reasons. There are lots of reasons for that. COVID is being a major one. People moving out of the core to the outskirts is definitely a major one. Among many other things. As well, the psychology of the market, something I haven't discussed as much in these updates because I don't want to take up too much of your time. Nonetheless, the psychology of things is when a lot of people are doing something, other people seeing that are more likely to do it as well. It's kind of a, well, I don't see monkey do, but we are human beings, and so maybe human beings see and human beings do. That happens quite a bit. There's a lot of psychology of that, the fear of missing out. All these people are buying homes. I should probably too. Clearly, the market's going up. Well, that feeds into the whole system. And that is why we have such a high number of sales compared to all of the other years. It's been an incredible year. I think this year overall is going to be a very busy year, maybe similar to about 2016 or so. That was, I think, the last very, very busy year. Average resale home price. Here we're looking at specifically, again, this is averages, so keep that in mind. A little bit of, I take this with a little bit of grain of salt all the time. Nonetheless, you'll notice how much higher everything is. Now, clearly this is not sustainable. However, overall, you're looking at 2018, 19, 20, and 21. Even look at 18 to 2020. Look at the increases. Even during the beginning of COVID, look from gray to blue. At that time, we weren't even quite sure as to what was going to happen with COVID. Is it going to be just a few months? Is it going to be forever? We weren't sure. Vaccines was just a figment of our imagination at that point. So this really shows that increase is still there. Why did I mention it? People still speak about the idea of the market dropping or bursting, bubble bursting, and all kinds of words like this. The problem with that is, remember, 2017 was the big correction. The market came down quite a bit. I'll show you this here. Mention it to you. Notice going up from 20, 20, 20, 19, 20 was the normal year after the market came down quite a bit in 2017. Overall, of 2017, and this is drop right here. This is what people talk about the big drop. Oh, it was a huge drop, percent in some markets. Absolutely. Well, 2020, you're already where the peak was at 2017. If the normal market where most of my clients were buying in 2016, 2017, 19 there. Here's the point. Even if the market does correct itself, even as it did before, it was a big correction. Notice within 2 years or so, it's already passed that number. People tell me the market's going to go down, market's going to go down. It can't go down, not when there's this much demand, lack of supply, and by the way, we haven't even touched immigration yet in 2021. Remember that. That's a whole slew of human beings, about 100,000 people coming in, some of whom are going to be wanting to buy real estate. So let me minimize myself here because I'm a little bit too long on this one. Sellers, remember I mentioned January and February were crazy. They really were crazy. At 10,000 to 11,000, it becomes a super seller's market. We took a drop down. That was a couple of months ago. At 14 to 15,000 active listings, we're at the seller's market. I was hoping we'd be here now. However, we should be about 14,000 active listings sometime, not beginning of June, like I was hoping, or now, probably towards the end of June. Why mention these numbers at all? At that point, it becomes a seller's market, not a buyer's market, not even a balanced market for which you would need about 20,000 active listings. But 14,000 gives us a good idea that, well, it tells us that it's going to be a little bit easier for buyers, This is what I mean by the market cooling down. It is cooling down. It's just cooling down slowly and naturally. This new law in terms of the mortgages, which I'm going to talk about in a second, going to go into effect. There's still some ifiness, if you will. There's still some conversations about it, but it is going to affect those putting down 20% or more, to the effect of 4 to 5%, the decrease in buying power. Now that's still in the works. There's going to be information in my newsletter. If there's any updates, I'll certainly shoot that over. If you have questions, ask me. But overall, is this going to cool down the market more? No, not really. The market's naturally cooling down, and the government is very good, and banks are very good at making it look like they're doing something when actually they're not doing a whole lot. So I'll leave you with that. Yes, the market is cooling down. No, the prices are not going to be dropping very high. If anything, the cooling down will mean that the increase, the appreciation is going to start slowing down because we can going at 20, 30, 40% a clip. That said, don't expect the market to go down. If you're one of these folks, or if you know folks just waiting to time the market just right, don't do it. Honestly, it doesn't work well. Look what people have, even when people that bought in the height of 2017 are up thousands upon thousands of dollars, and even entry level homes at this point in time. So Toronto market keeps on chucking along. So guys, if you have any questions, contact me. Thank you so much for a little bit extended update. I want to get you some extra information. All the best. See you next month.